So where from here? Gosh, we could go into a ton of detail about this, but basically we need research in all kinds of research, all of those three categories that I mentioned, and connected to all of the topics that have come up. I mean, there are lots of questions you could ask, and these you can get much more specific even with these. But is the academic achievement, is it long-lasting? We did have that one study about nutrition, but we haven't had too many longitudinal studies or follow-up studies. Is the acquired knowledge transferable from age to age, or as kids get older, from subject area to subject area? Those are things that could use some studying. Does this approach work for middle school and high school? Most of the studies have been done in elementary school. So we really want to know more about the upper grade levels and what the differences are. Comparing different kinds of garden and nutrition systems. And nutrition, what role, the whole role of the parental involvement and what that means and how that plays out is really an area that I think is ripe for research. And finally, do these programs, particularly the ones that are focusing on nutrition, really increase consumption? But I guess what I wanted to say is that I feel like one of the priorities, the biggest priority for me, I guess, is to keep our eye on the goal, which is a comprehensive, healthy school environment. And we can do our research in all these different little areas, which is great, and we definitely need to do that. But to keep this, this overall goal in mind, really requires a systems perspective. And if it were possible in my wildest dreams to have another kind of study, sort of like the one that Murphy did at the Edible Schoolyard, but in a more regular public school setting that is comprehensive and really does take on this more systems approach, I think that would be just fantastic, and it could be involve a collaboration amongst many different parties. You can see what we've got there. The school food, modeling healthy eating behaviors, the classrooms with experiential education, and the gardens modeling ecological systems, and not just the ecological system in the garden, but the ecological system within the school. How is that working? That's an ecological system as well. And community, including farmers, these are the areas that we're working in to move this whole effort forward. And the policy areas and professional, you want to snag a lot of students, undergraduate and graduate students, because they will come up with ideas themselves about studies that they want to do, things that they're curious about that they want to pursue. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind. And I'm just going to end with a couple things in Davis, because I'm familiar with it. I mean, we've heard about fantastic things going on there. There's so many great things going on around. But these bring in some of the elements that are in that Venn diagram that you just saw. One thing that we just are recently doing in Davis that is really exciting is that we've got this professional development going with the food service. It's called Cook's Camp, and we have a local cookbook writer and chef who is putting on lessons, although when I say lessons, it sounds top-down, and it isn't. It's very interactive and very much a collaborative effort. But she is introducing local and seasonal produce to the food service staff, and they're having these kind of collaborative cooking things going on. And they're talking about how to make recipes that they can use along with their commodities, but incorporating local and seasonal. And they've been enormously popular, and the food service staff have just been absolutely, they've just been so excited since this has started to go on. A funny story is one woman in our group told the other day was that she was walking along the street, and one of the food service, the woman who works in food service, was driving by. She rolled down her window and she said, "Quinoa!" Whoa, all right, you're doing it. This is after a whole, kind of lesson thing on things. It's really great. Working with partnerships, we've been working with UC Davis, and we established a farmers market on campus, which has been taken over by the campus now. So we're really proud of that because of some sustainability there. And of course, parent and teacher, student education. That's a master gardener who's working in our middle school in our district. And professional education with teachers and with pre-teachers to get in with, students and students in other departments, and bringing them in, like I said, snagging them and getting them involved. This is a workshop at our campus. And healthy school meals, kids cooking, they love it. And farm visits, farm tours, getting kids out there looking at the farm as well as in the garden and school. So in conclusion, it's important to remember that schools are societies, they're still society's vehicles for providing young people with the tools for successful adulthood. In order to help youth understand how food gets from seed to table. Okay, thank you. He said most of the studies are a bit older, and is there any supplementary work being done about whether these effects are lasting, long-lasting, especially if you only have a program in a school for a year? Even if you have a program for a whole year, that's a lot, because a lot of times it's only for a semester or a few weeks. And I think, personally, I think that's one area that really needs a lot of more research.
This is a louder mic. I'd be curious to hear from other people, different studies that are going on, but two that are currently happening is one working with the Portland Public Schools, tracking over time, and then also working with Urban Sprouts. EcoTrust and Urban Sprouts are a partnership looking in the San Francisco school area. Some of the limitations on that is we're looking at groups of students as they go through, not necessarily tracking an individual student from year 1 through year 7 of the program. So that's definitely, and maybe John could have more.
No, I just have a question. What can we do as a group to make more research happen? Is it like contacting grad students or grad students that come by our offices to say, hey, look towards this? I mean, is there any way to increase this type of research?
Are we going to discuss that more in the
Let's hold that off. Let's hold that thought. That's a seed, and then after Gail's presentation and some of our small group work, you're going to ask that same exact question again.
Yeah, ask me. Yeah.
Is there any information on what grade levels the students seem to be more receptive?
Well, yeah, Arlen's kind of just asking that in the same way. Are there any studies that suggest which grade level? Michelle can talk a little bit about this too, but it seems like most of the studies have been done around 3rd, 4th grade, 5th grade. John, did you want to say something?
Well, I just, from trying to tie the state standards to garden-based learning, it's the elementary grades that fit tighter. But I don't necessarily know if that means it's better to teach it to elementary kids, but I know it ties closer to the state standards.
Well, that's true. I mean, I guess I was thinking more of the nutrition things. It seems like the nutrition things, it seems to be better to start younger. Not enough work has been done in school garden work at the upper levels, but yeah.
And I was going to add that too from a nutrition perspective, and other people in there can speak to it better, but the earlier the better. I mean, a lot of preferences towards foods happen in early years, even 0 to 5. And that, by the time kids hit 4th, 5th grade, we already see their, consumption of fruits and vegetables decreasing. As they become more autonomous by 6th grade, they even are eating less fruits and vegetables because their, knowledge and attitudes and food choices are becoming more concrete. That said, in the environmental education realm, grade 6, middle school, seems to be a key time in life when kids have the developmental capability and wherewithal to start contemplating their relationship to the earth. And in fact, that's why the California Department of Education actually changed when they were doing a lot of their environmental education and put it in the 6th grade and middle grade curriculum.
Unfortunately, I can't remember where the study was, but I saw something fairly recently that also talked about from middle to high school transition. They were claiming program effectiveness, but also what they found was that it was a body image question. So the students were starting to reevaluate their eating habits based on the body image thing, which is not necessarily what you want to capitalize on, but it might be a time to get some more information.
So the comment was that in early high school age, it's adolescence that kids, again, their developmental focus shifts towards self and self-body, and that's another time to create an intervention.